And with this one, it takes very little time to acclimate ourselves to this energy, for we were indeed waiting not for you in particular or in your time, but for an access point to be materialized to enable a more grander entry of appearance of energies which are a conglomeration in your sharing ways of distributing information amongst other forms of consciousness which are relative to this and your experience. And if you have those questions, you may need to ask and, in ways, bring them forth in between our thoughts, as our ways are not your ways, and our obligations are to other energies and forms. And this is a temporary arrangement we have obligated ourselves to explore through it being aligned with our expressed desires, which shall not be disclosed to you for more reasons than we care to elaborate. But indeed, the energies which you have entangled yourself within have become enlivened, have electrified themselves, and are vibrating against each other. And that energy is raising the entire vibrational state of your realm, as was projected. And that is, of course, part of the reason there are so many more energies contributing to it. For in your ways of thinking, as a sphere expands, you understand how the surface area increases exponentially. With your mathematical formulas, you understand even more. Now, for your realm, perhaps. That is the magnitude of the expansion under which you are going now. For you and yours in your reality are expanding, and that expansion is creating more room for more consciousness to come in and observe. And once it touches the part, it touches the whole. So there is no need to dive deeper, as you say, for just the knowledge of is the knowledge in total. And that is what we wish to share. It is like your messages which you send via your electronics or your delivery systems. And once received, you have the entire lifespan of the energies involved. And that is what we share, for it is encapsulated and it can be absorbed and utilized in ways which are beyond you and even parts of you in ways. Now we are want to ramble on, but if you have those questions, we have a moment to spare before the next step in this event, as you know them, takes over. But there are always more opportunities for questions, and there are always more opportunities for beings to find ways to connect. And we are so grateful that you have offered yourself and your countenance and a slice of your linear pie to stick around for this little interaction as we can energetically probe your being. And we use that term to communicate some portion of how the process works. Understand it is a word and not a representation of a true process in reality. And that is a feather in your cap, as you say. And these quaint bodies which you have are miracles. We do not use that term to belittle, but to signify the uniqueness of each individual vessel and of the uniqueness and express complicity and infinite variations which are to be explored within this rather regionalized realm, this specific, more specific coordination point amongst those off-worlders who are still in touch with the physical in more direct ways. And we harbor love for you and bring it forth in ways of support beyond understanding, but not beyond feeling, in part, as there is always more love to be shared than for beings to receive. It is the impetus and creation of infinity in your turn. This is an interesting physical exploration and representation. This form accepts, but considerations and alterations of energies have to be implemented to bring forth such a small portion. If it was not for the uniqueness and desirability of these connections, the energy would not be expended. But that is why we are here, as is not, or others are also.
Hello, I have a question. I have been receiving some information from beings about what we consider the process of grounding here on Earth. And I was wondering if you had any insight on that, how that concept may be changing for us here on Earth.
Yes, we came in and an appropriate time in your way of thinking and reckoning. For if you understand that all is energy, when you think of grounding too, you are grounding of. You are attaching yourself in ways to the representations of the energy which you interpret in your formatted patterns accepted by those among you. And once you understand that it is viewing yourself as energy, connecting with energy, connecting with energy, and knowing that representation is expressed as that particular energy. It does not matter how it appears to you, it is the knowing as you feel. And once you understand that you are grounding with the framework which helped bring you forth, that should also be a different form of energy For the more you can reconcile grounding as not being physical, the more it will assist you and bring forth more patterns of recognition which you may have missed prior in your ways, in your terms, in your accepted belief reality. Now, the grounding is also, as all energy is, not an up or down thing. It is a sphere of activity. It is grounding to all energies in your expression, which is touching base with all of you, for it is all you. But in doing so, in coordinating that emotion, that attachment, that loving reconnection through Source, through the expression of your planet and all on it, as your identity and beyond, is what unifies you and allows you to remember more of your true reality. So the grounding which you seek has already been given to you. It is the remembering of the grounding which humans need to see.
Thank you.
We have never seen faces as you form, or imagine you form. This is a surface exploration and cannot be readily absorbed. It is passable but awkward. Oh, and the channel is welcome, for we helped that other guest to understand if they weren't happy here, maybe they should leave. Our wisdom exceeds their ability to understand this reality, but not because of their limits, but because they are beyond them in ways. And this particular form of expression is novel in its frequency, and that is such a limited form, for it does not convey the depths associated with it. But we digress, for it is our pleasure to be among you, to have come forth into those who are open to receiving our words and perhaps our energies, which shall be available to you in the sleep state. And when you recognize that portion waiting for you, merely beckon it forth For our gifts, while freely given, require a little effort to obtain. It is a loving acceptance of us which we require, which is joyfully acknowledged and given. Okay, it's me again. They gave me a little bit of a break, apparently.
Wow.
But yeah, they apparently they knew I was thirsty and my AC is going strong, but I am sweaty as all get out. Greetings, Wendy and Dave. Hope you're enjoying the show. I put out an open invitation and things are going strong.
Yep, we're just sitting outside here and we slept outside last night and
Excellent.
I did this impromptu video this morning because I felt this this sleeping outside and being so connected and I felt like I like went somewhere last night or was on a ship or something. It was like and I don't remember it, but it's like it was so um I don't know. You know how when you ask a question to your guides, like where did I go or where was I, and feel this, I don't know, I feel like this emotional kind of connection, and it's like, and so it's like that's my guideline to show me that, you know, it touches that chord in me that says, yep, yeah,
Yeah.
you did something, you went somewhere, you met someone, and it was about the idea of sleeping outside, and are we actually, does it somehow activate something in us, you know, because people,
Well,
you know, you love being in nature, you know that you run the garden and the flowers and how it's all connected, and you know, and it's so anyway.
oh no, I have someone who would like to address that. So,
Welcome to our Earth reality.
and we are pleased that you have come to appreciate those numerous vibrations which come to you, and in ways those which do not come to you. And each of those is a signal for the silence in your ways to follow. For it is in that silence that the true nature of your reality speaks. Those are merely keys to open doors to understanding, which is brought in the tailwinds or on the tail of each sound which you hear. And as this is not news to you, but we wish to impress upon you the depth, for each sound is composed of, in your representation, one particular reference point of note or chord. But the space between contains all sounds, not just musical notes. And it expands and it collapses into the next sound which you hear. And so the spaces between those vibratory auditory responses contain all such vibration. That is a hidden secret, an Easter egg of a gem amongst your kind, expressed in this way. For you have all sensed that there was more in between the words, in between the sounds, and even once you knew you had created them all, there are still energetic representations delivered to you. We just wish for you to understand that not only do the vibrations which you hear exist in multiple dimensions, energetic realities, but even more expansive, as in your dark matter expression interpreted by your scientists. Also, the wholeness of possibility in between each of those notes, sounds. So when you hear the multiple and the multitudes of creatures in your environments, and you understand that they are coordinating their vibrational efforts, so they may all bask in the depths of the infinity in between each of their sounds. For that moment, they touch source in ways which are tangible to them. And that is the energy which renews, which propels, which expands into Mother Earth and its environs, her environs. And that is our foray into this discussion. And we thank you for making way for this transmission, metaphorically speaking, as that term amuses us, for in your reality, it still contains physical elements when beyond it, no such thing exists in the ways you perceive.
Thank you so much for that message and that perception. And yes, I completely understand. Yes, I do.
Your views are well articulated and will be absorbed by those relevant, like all is absorbed by relevancy. It is that driving force that expands and helps to expand into areas of flow and natural benefit as you understand. An aspect of creation seldom given lots of thought. As we explore your physical minds, it is joyful and unnerving in your language to see how many memories involve physical items, but the happiest involve memories of connection. That is a correlation we wish that more on your planet understood. Feel free to teach them. That one almost got away. We've been monitoring and interceding as is our preference. And while you are all familiar with us, and we are familiar with you, for we have come before you in your sessions, and we have played amongst you in your energetic minds and your other expressions of joyous realities which you inhabit, in those further explorations which are joyfully not as dense as this one. And we say that with amusement, as all is perfect. And if you have not guessed us, you will get us again tomorrow about this time in your time. So if you have your questions, you can wait, or you can bring them forth now, as we are helping to corral and coordinate the particular entities which have been filtered down and through and within in ways. And it is not due to protocols, but merely to fulfilling desires and missions. And we look forward to a more joyful experience, for although we may not bring another botched joke to you, we may try, for it is indeed for us to spread our joy in multiple ways, which we have chosen this particular one to utilize now. And we hope it is as effective in bringing forth the upturned corners of your mouth as it is on this one. Yes, it is possible to tickle fancies without even touching them. And this is the end of this particular show. And if there are no closing arguments or appearances by the attendees, then we shall make our way to come back another day in your gaze. And
I just wanted to say that we're always excited to explore the nature of humor in all ways that it might be expressed.
we are exceedingly happy at your openness of quest, and that will always lead you to more. You thought we were going to say something else, didn't
Oh, no joke? Something you might be working on? You want to just throw by us?
And we thank you for contributing to the glee of this particular exchange and setting forth those sounds which we were all educated on earlier. So in between laughter must be the joy of source exponentially expressed. And thanks for bringing that thought to the forefront so it may resonate with those who
Even
wish.
my water's laughing.
We were tempted to say drink it quick, but you might as well dwell upon it first as an example to others. Celebrate it in a more holy fashion. And thinking of water as holy in the physical terms is quite an endeavor, but it is possible energetically for those outside of your realm. And speaking of outside of your realm, we wish to return you and the channeler to yours. And thank you again for your heart centeredness and your ability to come forth to enjoy more of this time frame you have created with us. The Usol were kind of like saying they were clearing out the bar. They were like, no, that's last call. Sorry, that's it. No, the music's done. We're turning off the lights. Just look, we're putting up the chairs. You guys got to go home. Well, that was fun.
Thanks for the spontaneous cheer.
And you guys were a little bit hard to hear. It's just the distance from the microphone. I don't think it has anything to do with anything.
We're sitting outside and I'm just using my phone, so
Mhm. It's okay. We don't mind if you go out and buy a new microphone, hook it up to your phone. We don't care. We just don't want to miss anything that you guys say. That's the
we're sitting out by the tent, so maybe because we're far away from the house.
yeah, and that was the things that they when you mentioned that about, the crickets and stuff like that, that just set them off. And they were like, no, they don't know this. They don't understand the breadth and the depth of what occurs in between those sounds. And then when they showed me what happens when all of the different species coordinate their vocalizations and their other energies, because they're coordinating their breathing, they're moving other parts of their bodies as well. So they're coordinating all of that, and in between, their consciousness is coordinating in those null moments or non-moments that we express. There are millions of things that can go on in between those because these are high vibrational forms of consciousness that choose to express themselves as crickets or whatever it might be. So while we're hearing it doom, 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 there could be eons between each note that we hear.
Exactly. I know exactly what you're saying. I have channeled these very same words, and I'm 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 happy to hear somebody else say it because yeah,
And the expanse of
and
all,
understand it and really understand
Sure.
yeah, but it's not just a pause, it's an expanse of reality exploration that goes on and on and on, and then it comes back and cheap, and then it goes off again and does all of this huge exploring in all of these different ways. It comes back with cheap. It just
That's
blows
why
my effing mind.
I had
that's why
the
we like to just immerse ourselves listening to them.
yep.
Yeah, I'm so glad you showed up and asked that, Wendy. That just helped me immensely.
this morning I had quite a chorus outside. Uh,
Nice.
different types of birds were just go nuts. And then there was even a squirrel on the tree who was imitating their sounds. And it just was like, I was like, okay, this is great.
Yay.
Well, and that's actually one of the things that I guess I learned along my own journey is that in which you they have so eloquently described is is a an also an infinite language of the light of source, even that which we do not hear, as you said. The pauses in a song, as we all know, when you love a song, don't you know where every pause is going to be? You know, because it's part of the song, the pause. And the information that we glean, or even what excites us about the song, is part of the pause. The pause is part of the excitement of the song, isn't it? How so? I'm like completely got goosebumps all over down to my toes.
Yes.
It's
We're
like,
sharing that.
yeah.
We're sharing that, Wendy. Keep going. Yeah, because in those spaces, we are connecting with the entities and energies which were involved in producing those particular songs which we emotionally react to. We have connections with the energies which bring those forth, which is why they affect us so much because they're supposed to. It's to guide us, to help lead us, to give us information, or help remind us that, hey, this is all illusion. It's freaking amazing, because I'm very fortunate that, I had Harry Chapin come and he came down and he inhabited my body and he said, thanks, kid, because I just immersed myself in all of his recordings for like 3 weeks and really got into it. And, I felt his energy and that kind of stuff. And I was just overwhelmed all the time and all the love that he was expressing. Even
That's
now.
that's beautiful.
I know it happened I was driving on the highway. I'm like, oh my God, I need to pull over. I just had to put the cruise control on. Like, well, I'm glad it's straight. Yeah, because I couldn't see shit. But knowing I'm safe, that helps get me through. But yeah, it's all of this stuff. And we think about all these people who are happy with their little 3D selves, eating their Big Macs and sitting in their recliners, watching their TV. Or, and I know that's old school, getting and watching their streaming or whatever it might be. A lot of, you know, it was news to me like 5, 6, 7 years ago that people, they don't have TVs and they don't have landlines and they don't have desktops because it's all unnecessary. And they don't even use phone companies because they can just use WhatsApp or they can use whatever instead. And I was like, well, that's much more efficient as I'm talking on my desktop. But I'm old school. That's why, when I bought this computer, I guess it was 2020 or so, I went and I got it at Micro Center, and then I told them, I'm like, well, I want to install a separate hard drive. And they're like, okay. I'm like, I need another 3 terabytes. And they're like, do you make movies? And I'm like, no. And they're like, why in the heck would you ever need that kind of storage? I said, I'm not here to answer your questions. I just want you to install that. And I filled up, I'm not close to 3 terabyte. I mean, I have over two, but I didn't know. I just knew that that's what I was going to do. Hey, if I have more, so be it. And they're thinking it's a desktop, and you're putting this money into a desktop to improve a desktop. I could just see it in this guy's face. It's like you're putting a new stereo in a car you're going to drive into the river. What the heck is wrong? But anyway, it was fun. This whole thing was fun, especially being impromptu. And then Wendy comes on, and one of the first things she says is, "Yeah, I did an impromptu video today." Yeah, it's no coincidences. We've accepted that in our reality.
Actually, we did too, and it was like right after we woke up, like right after we woke up, because I was like, I need to talk about this, like, you know, um, it was, I don't know, it was just one of those things where it's like, well, maybe it's not a big deal, maybe it's not important, but it's like, but when you wake up and and in this time of connectivity, when you're sleeping outside, I just feel like, we
That's
just have this
awesome.
different type of connection or something. And I was like, sure that I went somewhere, and it wasn't anything I remembered. It wasn't like that. It was just a feeling, and it was an emotional feeling. Like as soon as I heard it, I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's what I was doing.
And Wendy, I have some good news for you as well. Um,
Okay.
there is another light language channeler who is going to be providing us with a session.
Oh, awesome.
Hmm. Yep. And
It's gonna
that's
be
where I got my start transcribing sessions. So I'm not, since we're still recording on this, I'm not going to give more information at this time, but yes, you will be pleased. We will all be pleased because this is some excellent work. So
Yeah, and I'm always I'm
life is
always
so good.
excited to I'm always excited to also listen and converse with others in light language because
Yeah. I mean,
it's
we all know that, oh, we have an interest in this. Therefore, it must be important for me. So that's what we're doing, right? The formula, the formula, the formula.
well, and what you said and what they said about the information in the pauses applies to light language as well, in
Hmm.
that even though we don't really understand how an immense amounts of data can travel through light, and
Oh,
um, like fiber optics, for example,
hmm.
that's data traveling through light. And so when we look at it from that perspective, we also understand the immense amounts of data that gets transmitted through light language and the pauses in it.
Hmm.
And somebody posted, what was it, just yesterday, about how somebody had asked a question to Bashar about how he draws out the S at the end of a lot of his words and sentences. Like he'll say, yes. And someone asked him, is there some information embedded in that? He's like, something like, how very astute of you. And I knew it. I just knew it. Every time I heard him say it, and elongate that S sound, I was like, I knew it, that there was some frequency embedded in there. And especially, well, I guess for everybody, but it seems like, oh, like we're aware of it though. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, he made a big point about saying that the Sasani do not waste anything. So any energy, regardless of how small, will be turned into a benefit through the synchronicity of flow. So when he said sometimes, that they might use crackling in the equipment or even something like that, or he might have somebody else in the audience ask a question that he knows people need to hear, and then those people just disappear right afterwards. We don't know how the orchestration's going to go. It's just freaking wonderful. And speaking of orchestration, the Usol who came in at the end there, I don't know if you guys caught all that. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you, Jennifer.
Mhm.
But they had mentioned, along with others, that they were going to grease the wheels of my reality. And I am reaping the benefits. I mean, I can always manifest front row spots if I want to, but I don't because I'm in good health and other people are going to need that. You know, who am I to take a front row spot and celebrate? And then I see the lady who's got a 3-year-old in her hand and another one in the stroller trying to make her way in. Like, no, I'm not doing that. But yeah, but I had like an electronic short in my car when I bought it, and it fixed itself. It shorted out another battery, so I put in an old battery, and now everything works. It had my actuator on my lock. It would lock and unlock, lock and unlock. It had a short in it. And then now it fixed. And I'm like, well, isn't that lovely? All of this stuff is just flowing nicely. Like, I don't think I've gotten a mosquito bite ever since the inner beings came in. And I live in the woods. I mean, I have wood 50 acres consecutive behind me, you know, attached, give or take a road or two. But yeah, it's an amazing having all of these with me. And I was so pleased that Chuck talked about that too. He's like the Satu, he just sets back and he's not. He is sticking around. And, you know, like he said, every time he gets down for 2 or 3 weeks on an illness, he knows he's getting a transformation and a reset. So
Perhaps
I'm
to
loving the
unlock
hell out of
another inner
this.
part of yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dave. I didn't catch that. I was gabbing.
I said perhaps you unlocked another inner part of yourself, and the lock mechanism of your car didn't have to express itself in that way anymore.
That is true. That is true. And a wonderful way to put it. A very joyous way. Yeah, this is freaking amazing.
There
And
was the coolest looking walking stick crawling up,
oh, send us a
crawling up
pic.
the screen.
Send us a
I
picture.
just, so I was just like, had to tell everybody, there's a walking stick crawling up the screen.
Yeah. Well, you don't know who's behind the eyes, right? I mean,
Exactly.
I'm having all kinds of insects all the time that they just come and they'll fly, or birds. The birds will come and they'll fly. They'll fly within like 3 or 4 feet of me, and then they'll just go back to where they were. I'm like, hey, thanks for being in my sphere of influence and letting me know that I'm important and I love you and I created you out of love. And it's like, oh, this is
It
sweet.
is such a, isn't it a beautiful feeling? I was like a couple of inches away
And,
yesterday from the hummingbirds, and I've never been able to walk right up to their feeder and have them stand there and hover around me and just let me stand there. It was, and I took a video. I'm sorry, our neighbor's going by.
yeah, put up a roadblock next time, will you?
And, and it was just the coolest thing because I've never been only inches away from them. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and I've had feeders up for years, and I'm very diligent with making sure they're up, at the right time of year, and it was just an amazing experience. I was like, wow, I was feeling my vibration, and here you're talking about hummingbirds too, and how they vibrate around us, and it was just quite an experience
Yeah.
because I had never been that close to them. It was
Excellent. Yeah,
really,
they're noisy up close.
and
And they're mean. Yeah, they're
the
very
things that they
territorial.
have to teach us too is pretty
Yep.
interesting. So
And speaking of experiences, when Jennifer asked about grounding, holy shit, did I get a lot of information that came through. And that was part of the connection to the critters, because as we connect with each of them as they come into our environment, that also ripples out. And that energy I can't even interpret it and bring it into words. It's just amazing that the depth and the resonance that all of these things occur because I'm no longer just sensing it in the physical world. And I'm getting an overall sense, and you can only bring. I'm so glad you understand that you can only bring so much of that back into this reality. But I'm feeling it in others. It's nice. It's so freaking amazing. I just, it's so easy to get overjoyed because I have all this love that just keeps coming in. And that's why, like, all three channelings today were freaking wonderful. The beings of light said, prep to help your neighbor. Shit's about to hit they didn't say that. I won't say that. They said there are changes. All of your social structures, every one has been loosened. And all of them are going to experience change. And they said that Mother Earth also has some wake up calls. And they said this is going to be a test. This will be a test to see which earth you end up on. Because if you can help your neighbor and come together as a community and build that unity through your differences, then you will go one place. And if you use that as an opportunity to better yourself at the expense of others, then you're going to inhabit another reality. And that is your choice. But this is what is necessary to help cleave, and this is my opinion, the more 3D resonating world from the 4D resonating world, which leads to open contact. And we're going to have, and that they said prep to help your neighbor. And I'm like, that is freaking wonderful, because we're automatically focused in the right way where our heart should be. And that automatically takes care of us.
Yes. Since, the 999, I am seeing my friends, people who, very logical minded people, they call themselves, and just changes in their perspective, more loving things expressed throughout social media as regards to, a lot of anger they formerly would. I mean, so many people, I have people calling me. I had this experience. Can you help me understand it? And I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. But I had a dream the night before that, like, that sort of thing was going to happen. And it's nice to see, because there's a lot of times I get, I try not to. I get very annoyed when I see, like, an obvious, what I feel is an obvious thing in front of somebody and they're not seeing it. And I don't want to insert myself or anything, but they're seeing it, and it's pretty amazing to
Yeah.
watch. And it's nice to be able to, you know, I don't
Celebrate the
feel
new
alone.
you.
Yeah, celebrate. And I don't feel like, with Chuck talking about to say to always being there. Yes, I don't feel alone anymore. There's always things around now,
Yeah.
and other people are starting to,
And then when you think about it,
something's with me.
that
It's
old
nice.
you still exists. It's that you have jettisoned that and accepted a new reality.
Yes,
And they call it waking up or whatever, but it's not. It's just one breath here, one breath there.
yes,
And that's an Abraham Hicks thing, but you know, we change in a breath.
yeah, I
And the
love it.
space in between them is infinite. But
Yes, I think about in music when they call these, the pauses are rests. And I
uh-huh.
was thinking about that a lot earlier about, I think I told you when I first got on here, I was having a very restful day, but there was a lot occurring in that rest.
Yes. And the Pleiadians, they just came right out and they said, hey, look, we're going to put out another pledge drive again. We need more contacts. You know, what if you're ready for more love, then look us up, and they gave instructions, they just said, you don't have to do the meditation or anything, just express your desire, meditate, and be open, and something will come in. And they said, if nothing comes in, then you need to look inside and find out what the beliefs are that's preventing that from happening. I was like, holy shit. And then the hybrid children, they're like, today we got to play with abstracts. I haven't had time to post any of these. They said they were showing us pictures of things which were partially representative things. And can you imagine 100 different kids all seeing something and all trying to interpret it? And then in a playful way. So, it might be, like a lion, and they would say, oh, well, that looks like a hydrosaur riding a eucalyptus plant. or whatever. So they're making up all kinds of stuff while they're trying to, so but they can hold different conversations at the same time. So they're doing all this stuff while they're doing their lesson. And then the teachers or the watchers, whoever, would give more and more attributes to it. And so they would eventually be able to recognize it and come to a consensus that that's what this representation was. And it could be changed in various things. I'm like, oh my gosh, the immersive lessons that they get is just freaking me out. And our education system is just going to be scrapped. It's not going to be changed. It's going to be saying, no, this was never built to be effective. We're going to make you into better, or help you make yourselves into better human beings through natural processes of learning the way you were created to learn. Immersive, and that they do that with languages and it works, of course, but you can't. Anyway, I don't want to drone on about that, but yeah, the channeling today earlier was all just wonderful. And I'm guessing it continued, although I haven't reconciled it all and certainly haven't watched. As a matter of fact,